I love that I saw throughout the Combine this week, people were like, the Jets are, the typical reports that always come out around Combine time. The Jets are all in on so-and-so. The Jets want this guy. The Jets are going to get Malik Willis. From everybody that I have spoken to, I don't think the Jets have finalized who they want for quarterback yet. And that's not totally uncommon. Like I was talking to another team who said they have their meetings to gather. What they do is they gather their intel throughout the NFL Combine of this is the running back market, which we know we're going to play in. This is what this guy's looking for. This is what this guy's blah, blah, blah. Get a general outline of contracts. And then on Monday, today, is when they go, okay, who are we going to pursue and who are we going to do everything we can to get? The Jets really only finalizing their offensive staff a week or so ago or a couple weeks ago. I mean, they're probably behind the eight ball a little bit in terms of determining exactly what they want at quarterback. So I genuinely believe that everything is on the table. But the one name that does, maybe it's speculative, maybe it's because it hasn't been shot down like the Kirk Cousins thing, that Kyler Murray name, not via trade, but if he's cut by the Cardinals and the Jets can get him for, say, like $1.5 million, that's around a lot more than I expected it to be. And you and I have talked about this, Zack, and we can get into the nitty-gritty of it. He, from everything that I've heard about this guy, is not the quarterback that you want. In fact, one person who coached Murray in Arizona told me, quote, it would be a disaster, unquote. I mean, there are work ethic concerns with Kyler Murray. There is desirability concerns with Kyler Murray. That stuff and that talk about him not watching film because he's playing Call of Duty, I was told by two different teams, including one coach in Arizona, that that's true. Like, that's not a fake thing. Like, that is a true thing that happened. And as one former coach said to me, quote, he's just not a leader, unquote, and players just don't follow him. So for when you're trying to bring in this culture that Aaron Glenn keeps talking about, and this feeling that Aaron Glenn keeps talking about, and this want and desire that Aaron Glenn keeps talking about, I don't see Murray in any way, shape, or form as being a long-term fit for New York. With one caveat. One, we know that Glenn is close with Kyler Murray's dad, so maybe he believes that things can be different with New York because he has some insight that we don't necessarily have. And two, if the goal is competence and the goal is some form of excitement and the goal is trying to get to 6 or 7 wins, the belief is that is something that Kyler Murray can do because there is arm talent, there is mobility, there is excitement. When he's on the field, he can run around and make plays happen that other people can't because he is one of the most physically gifted quarterbacks in the league. It's just a matter of like, is everything you're trying to build worth a quarterback that, from everything I've heard, is exactly against that?
Yeah, look, so what I would say is a lot of what you just said is absolutely true. I think that Aaron Glenn believes in doing his own research and digging into Kyler Murray and whoever the quarterback might be. I think they're doing, as you talked about at the beginning of this point, like they're doing their research. They're doing due diligence, and that's kind of the root of this is they're doing their due diligence in the Kyler Murray. That is absolutely happening. And I think that Aaron Glenn believes that he can bring in just about anybody and make things work if they have the work ethic and the talent and all that stuff. And I know there are questions about Kyler's work ethic, but there's also the idea that maybe he'd be motivated to prove everybody wrong after how the last couple of years have went. And I think that if you look at this quarterback market, there's not a lot of high ceiling quarterbacks. And I'm not saying he has a significantly high ceiling, but he is somebody that has a provable history of production and success in his NFL career. Whereas a lot of these guys, like Malik Willis is someone that I personally would invest in because I think he has really, really interesting potential and he has a really strong arm and he's really athletic and it sounds like his work ethic is really high level. But, the Jets would probably have to pay $25 to $30 million for a guy that has not proven an ability to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. You have Kirk Cousins, 38 years old. I don't think that's happening. I know we're going to get into all the specific candidates and all that stuff. But if the goal for the Jets is to get the best possible quarterback, then there is a case to be made that it is Kyler Murray. And I'm not saying I believe he's the right option or anything like that, but I think these are the conversations the Jets are having right now. And not only do I think that, I know that those are the conversations they're having right now. And there's two sides of this. Like, there's a lot of things you can point to, be like, it doesn't make any sense. Aaron Glenn has said he doesn't want a celebrity quarterback. Well, I think that was more like he doesn't want Aaron Rodgers than he doesn't want a Kyler Murray. Yeah. There's a lot of people saying, well, Frank Reich has a history of the quarterbacks are 6'5" and they're pocket passers and things like that. Like, I think Frank Reich throughout his history has kind of just been working with what was handed to him. Like if you look at Indy, it was like 38-year-olds every year at the end of their career. When he gets to Carolina, Bryce Young was 6 feet tall. I know there was a lot of stuff about how you want to CJ Stroud or whatever. He kind of denied that in a story in The Athletic a couple weeks ago. I think they're all very open to just trying to get the best quarterback in there. And so let's say you get Kyler Murray, that doesn't restrict you from adding other quarterbacks too. And that's where somebody like an Andy Dalton, who has ties to Frank Reich, and he's bigger and he knows the offense that he's trying to run, or whether it's whatever. There's a bunch of veteran quarterbacks they could add as another backup, and there's rookies in this class they can add that Frank can develop. I think Aaron Glenn wants to add the best possible quarterback at the end of the day. And he might believe that is Kyler Murray, and that's why my biggest takeaway coming out of the combine is not like, oh, Kyler Murray is the favorite. You should actually absolutely predict Kyler Murray. I came out of the combine thinking that he is a candidate for the job, whereas maybe I don't know that I went into the combine thinking that. And I think that's maybe what's being mistaken a little bit by like what you and I and others have reported. It's more that he is a possibility, so stop trying to rule him out as a possibility.
Correct, and that's I went to the combine fully expecting the opposite. When I went to Indianapolis, I wholeheartedly felt that I was going to have 10 different people telling me absolutely not, this is not happening, and instead it was the opposite. And maybe this is strictly because the Jets have not finalized or had not finalized at the time what they wanted at quarterback, but he's not an option. And that's a surprise. He wouldn't be for me at all, but he is not an option. And you touched upon this quickly, Zach, and I do think this is what the Jets are going to do. And it's crazy because when the Giants did it a year ago, it was like, oh my God, this was so dumb. Why would they ever do this? And it actually worked out really reasonably well for them. Not really well, but worked out reasonably well for them. Was that they signed Russell Wilson, they signed Jameis Winston, and then they went and they drafted Jackson Dart as the developmental project. I don't think the Jets go the first round route with that option like the Giants did with Jackson Dart, but I absolutely could see them bringing in a Kyler Murray on a dirt cheap 1.5 veteran minimum deal because of how much money he's getting from the Cardinals, then adding somebody like an Andy Dalton or a proven veteran, even keeping Tyrod Taylor in the building, and then later on in the draft, taking your developmental project in someone like a Drew Allar. And then you go into the offseason and you go into this season with 3 legitimate options that you feel kind of okay with. Both the guy that's sort of like the maybe we can get something out of him in Kyler Murray, the person that you know what you have in Tyrod Taylor, and then your project player in the quarterback. And if it all fails, well, then guess what? You've got a ton of draft picks in 2027 and a much more talent-rich quarterback class to try to get somebody there.